Poems Every Child Should Know. Edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 16. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains the following poems: Ingratitude, The Ivy Green, The Noble Nature, and The Flying Squirrel. Part 2 continued. Ingratitude. Ingratitude by William Shakespeare, 1564 1616, is an incisive thrust at a refined vice. It is a part of education to learn to be grateful. Blow, blow, thou winter wind, thou art not so unkind as man's ingratitude. Thy tooth is not so keen, because thou art not seen, although thy breath be rude. Freeze, freeze, thou bitter sky, thou dost not bite so nigh as benefits forgot. Though thou the waters warp, thy sting is not so sharp as friend remembered not. William Shakespeare. The Ivy Green. The Ivy Green by Charles Dickens (1812 1870) is a hardy poem in honor of a hardy plant. There is a wonderful ivy growing at Rhuddlan in northern Wales. Its roots are so large and strong that they form a comfortable seat for many persons, and no one can remember when they were smaller. This ivy envelops a great castle in ruins. Every child in that locality loves the old ivy. It is typical of the ivy as seen all through Wales and England. Oh, a dainty plant is the ivy green, that creepeth o'er ruins old. Of right choice food are his meals, I ween, in his cell so lone and cold. The walls must be crumbled, the stones decayed, to pleasure his dainty whim, and the mouldering dust that years have made is a merry meal for him. Creeping where no life is seen, a rare old plant is the ivy green. Fast he stealeth on, though he wears no wings, and a staunch old heart has he. How closely he twineth, how tight he clings to his friend, the huge oak tree. And slyly he traileth along the ground, and his leaves he gently waves, and he joyously twines and hugs around the rich mould of dead men's graves. Creeping where no life is seen, a rare old plant is the ivy green. Whole ages have fled, and their works decayed, and nations have scattered been, but the stout old ivy shall never fade from its hale and hearty green. The brave old plant in its lonely days shall fatten upon the past, for the stateliest building man can raise is the ivy's food at last. Creeping where no life is seen, a rare old plant is the ivy green. Charles Dickens. The Noble Nature. The Noble Nature by Ben Jonson (1574 1637) needs no plea. A small virtue well polished is better than none. It is not growing like a tree in bulk doth make man better be, or standing long an oak 300 year to fall a log at last, dry, bald, and sere. A lily of a day is fairer far in May, although it fall and die that night. It was the plant and flower of light. In small proportions we just beauties see, and in short measures life may perfect be. Ben Jonson. The Flying Squirrel. The Flying Squirrel is an honest account of a live creature that won his way into scores of hearts by his mad pranks and affectionate ways. It is enough that John Burroughs has commended the poem. Of all the woodland creatures, the quaintest little sprite is the dainty flying squirrel in vest of shining white, in coat of silver gray, and vest of shining white. His furry Quaker jacket is trimmed with stripe of black. A furry plume to match it is curling o'er his back. New curved with every motion his plume curls o'er his back. No little newborn baby has pinker feet than he. Each tiny toe is cushioned with velvet cushions 3. 3 wee pink velvet cushions, almost too small to see. Who said the foot of baby might tempt an angel's kiss? I know a score of schoolboys who put their lips to this wee foot of the squirrel, and left a loving kiss. The tiny thief has hidden my candy and my plum. Ah, there he comes unbidden to gently nip my thumb. Down in his home, my pocket, he gently nips my thumb. How strange the food he covets, the restless, restless wight! Fred's old stuffed armadillo he found a tempting bite. Fred's old stuffed armadillo, with ears a perfect fright. The Lady Ruth's great bureau, each foot a dragon's paw. The midget ate the nails from his famous antique claw. Oh, what a cruel beastie to hurt a dragon's claw! 2 autographic copies upon my choicest shelf. To every dainty volume the rogue has helped himself. My books, oh dear! No matter, the rogue has helped himself. And yet, my little squirrel, your taste is not so bad. You've swallowed Caird completely, and Psychologic Lad. Rosmini you've digested, and Kant in rags you've clad. Gnaw on, my elfish rodent, lay all the sages low. My pretty lace and ribbons, they're yours for weal or woe. My pocket-book's in tatters, because you like it so. Mary E. Burt. End of section 16. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 16th, 2006 in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know, edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 17. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains the following poems: Warren's Address to the American Soldiers, The Song in Camp, and The Bugle Song. Part 2 continued. Warren's Address to the American Soldiers. There is never a boy who objects to learning Warren's Address, by John Pierpont, 1785 to 1866. To stand by one's own rights is inherent in every true American. This poem is doubtless developed from Robert Burns's Bannockburn. Stand! The ground's your own, my braves. Will ye give it up to slaves? Will ye look for greener graves? Hope ye mercy still? What's the mercy despots feel? Hear it in that battle peal. Read it on yon bristling steel. Ask it, ye who will. Fear ye foes who kill for hire? Will ye to your homes retire? Look behind you, they're afire. And before you see who have done it, from the vale on they come, and will ye quail? Leaden rain and iron hail, let their welcome be. In the God of battles trust. Die we may, and die we must, but oh, where can dust to dust be consigned so well? As where heaven its dews shall shed on the martyred patriot's bed, and the rocks shall raise their head of his deeds to tell. John Pierpont. The Song in Camp. The Song in Camp is Bayard Taylor's best effort as far as young boys and girls are concerned. It is a most valuable poem. I once heard a clergyman in Chicago use it as a text for his sermon. Since then, Annie Laurie has become the song of the Labor Party. The Song in Camp voices a universal feeling. "Give us a song," the soldiers cried, the outer trenches guarding, when the heated guns of the camps allied grew wearied of bombarding. The dark Redan, in silent scoff, lay grim and threatening under, and the tawny mound of the Malakoff no longer belched its thunder. There was a pause. A guardsman said, "We storm the forts tomorrow. Sing while we may. Another day will bring enough of sorrow." They lay along the battery's side below the smoking cannon, brave hearts from Severn and from Clyde, and from the banks of Shannon. They sang of love and not of fame, forgot was Britain's glory. Each heart recalled a different name, but all sang Annie Laurie. Voice after voice caught up the song, until its tender passion rose like an anthem, rich and strong, their battle-eve confession. Dear girl, her name he dared not speak, but as the song grew louder, something upon the soldier's cheek washed off the stains of powder. Beyond the darkening ocean burned the bloody sunset's embers, while the Crimean valleys learned how English love remembers. And once again a fire of hell rained on the Russian quarters, with scream of shot and burst of shell and bellowing of the mortars. And Irish Nora's eyes are dim for a singer dumb and gory, and English Mary mourns for him who sang of Annie Laurie. Sleep, soldiers, still in honored rest, your truth and valor wearing. The bravest are the tenderest, the loving are the daring. Bayard Taylor. The Bugle Song. The Bugle Song by Alfred Tennyson, 1809 1890, says Heydrich, has for its central theme the undying power of human love. The music is notable for sweetness and delicacy. The splendor falls on castle walls and snowy summits old in story. The long light shakes across the lakes, and the wild cataract leaps in glory. Blow, bugle, blow, set the wild echoes flying. Blow, bugle, answer echoes dying, dying, dying. Oh, hark, oh, hear, how thin and clear, and thinner, clearer, farther going. Oh, sweet and far from cliff and scar, the horns of Elfland faintly blowing. Blow, let us hear the purple glens replying. Blow, bugle, answer echoes dying, dying, dying. O love, they die in yon rich sky, they faint on hill or field or river. Our echoes roll from soul to soul, and grow for ever and for ever. Blow, bugle, blow, set the wild echoes flying, and answer echoes answer, dying, dying, dying. Alfred Tennyson. End of section 17. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 16, 2006 in Oceanside, California. Every Child Should Know, edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 18, read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains the following poems: The Three Bells of Glasgow and Sheridan's Ride. Part 2 continued. The Three Bells of Glasgow by Whittier, 1807 1892, cannot be praised too highly for its ethical value. Children always love to learn it after hearing it read correctly, and by one who understands and appreciates it. Stand by is the motto. My pupils teach it to me once a year, and learn it themselves too. Beneath the low-hung night-cloud that raked her splintering mast, the good ship settled slowly, the cruel leak gained fast. Over the awful ocean her signal guns pealed out. Dear God, was that thy answer from the horror round about? A voice came down the wild wind. Ho, ship ahoy! its cry. Our stout Three Bells of Glasgow shall stand till daylight by. Hour after hour crept slowly, yet on the heaving swells tossed up and down the ship-lights, the lights of the Three Bells. And ship to ship made signals, man answered back to man, while oft, to cheer and hearten, the Three Bells nearer ran. And the captain from her taffrail set down his hopeful cry. "Take heart, hold on," he shouted, "the Three Bells shall stand by." All night across the waters the tossing lights shone clear. All night from reeling taffrail the Three Bells sent her cheer. And when the dreary watches of storm and darkness passed, just as the wreck lurched under, all souls were saved at last. Sail on, Three Bells, forever, in grateful memory sail. Ring on, Three Bells of rescue, above the wave and gale. Type of the love eternal, repeat the Master's cry, as tossing through our darkness, the lights of God draw nigh. John G. Whittier. Sheridan's Ride. There never was a boy who did not like Sheridan's Ride, by T. Buchanan Read, 1822 1872. The swing and gallop in it take every boy off from his feet. The children never teach this poem to me, because they love to learn it at first sight. It is easily memorized. Up from the south at break of day, bringing to Winchester fresh dismay, The affrighted air with a shudder bore, like a herald in haste, to the chieftain's door. The terrible grumble and rumble and roar, telling the battle was on once more, and Sheridan 20 miles away. And wider still those billows of war thundered along the horizon's bar, and louder yet into Winchester rolled the roar of that Red Sea uncontrolled, making the blood of the listener cold as he thought of the stake in that fiery fray, and Sheridan 20 miles away. But there is a road from Winchester town, a good broad highway leading down, and there, through the flush of the morning light, a steed as black as the steeds of night was seen to pass as with eagle flight. As if he knew the terrible need, he stretched away with his utmost speed. Hills rose and fell, but his heart was gay, with Sheridan 15 miles away. Still sprung from those swift hoofs thundering south, the dust like smoke from the cannon's mouth, or the trail of a comet sweeping faster and faster, foreboding to traitors the doom of disaster. The heart of the steed and the heart of the master were beating like prisoners assaulting their walls, impatient to be where the battlefield calls. Every nerve of the charger was strained to full play, with Sheridan only 10 miles away. Under his spurning feet the road like an arrowy Alpine river flowed, and the landscape sped away behind like an ocean flying before the wind, and the steed, like a bark fed with furnace fire, swept on with his wild eye full of ire. But lo, he is nearing his heart's desire, he is snuffing the smoke of the roaring fray, with Sheridan only 5 miles away. The first that the general saw were the groups of stragglers, and then the retreating troops. What was done, what to do, a glance told him both. Then striking his spurs with a terrible oath, he dashed down the line, mid a storm of huzzas, and the wave of retreat checked its course there, because the sight of the master compelled it to pause. With foam and with dust the black charger was gray. By the flash of his eye and the red nostrils' play, he seemed to the whole great army to say, "I have brought you Sheridan all the way from Winchester, down to save the day." Hurrah, hurrah for Sheridan! Hurrah, hurrah for horse and man! And when their statues are placed on high, under the dome of the Union sky, the American soldier's temple of fame, there with the glorious general's name be it said, in letters both bold and bright, "Here is the steed that saved the day, by carrying Sheridan into the fight from Winchester, 20 miles away." Thomas Buchanan Reed. End of section 18. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 16, 2006 in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know, edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 19. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains 2 poems, The Sandpiper and Lady Clare. Part 2 continued. The Sandpiper. The Sandpiper by Celia Thaxter, 1836 1894, is placed here because a goodly percentage of the children who read it want to learn it. Across the lonely beach we flit, one little sandpiper and I, and fast I gather bit by bit the scattered driftwood, bleached and dry. The wild waves reach their hands for it, the wild wind raves, the tide runs high, as up and down the beach we flit, one little sandpiper and I. Above our heads the sullen clouds scud black and swift across the sky, like silent ghosts in misty shrouds stand out the white lighthouses high. Almost as far as eye can reach I see the close-reefed vessels fly, as fast we flit along the beach, one little sandpiper and I. I watch him as he skims along, uttering his sweet and mournful cry. He starts not at my fitful song, nor flash of fluttering drapery. He has no thought of any wrong, he scans me with a fearless eye. Stanch friends are we, well tried and strong, the little sandpiper and I. Comrade, where wilt thou be to-night, when the lucid storm breaks furiously? My driftwood fire will burn so bright, to what warm shelter canst thou fly? I do not fear for thee, though wroth the tempest rushes through the sky. For are we not God's children both, thou, little Sandpiper, and I? Celia Thaxter. Lady Clare. Girls always love Lady Clare and the Lord of Burley. They like to think that it is enough to be a splendid woman without title or wealth. They want to be loved, if they are loved at all, for their good hearts and graces of mind. Tennyson (1809 1892) makes this point repeatedly through his poems. It was the time when lilies blow, and clouds are highest up in air. Lord Ronald brought a lily-white doe to give his cousin, Lady Clare. I trow they did not part in scorn. Lovers long betrothed were they. They two will wed the morrow morn. God's blessing on the day. He does not love me for my birth, nor for my lands so broad and fair. He loves me for my own true worth, and that is well, said Lady Clare. In there came old Alice the nurse, said, "Who was this that went from thee?" "It was my cousin," said Lady Clare. "To-morrow he weds with me." "O God be thanked," said Alice the nurse, "that all comes round so just and fair. Lord Ronald is heir of all your lands, and you are not the Lady Clare." "Are ye out of your mind, my nurse," said Lady Clare, "that you speak so wild?" "As God's above," said Alice the nurse, "I speak the truth. You are my child." "The old Earl's daughter died at my breast. I speak the truth, as I live by bread. I buried her like my own sweet child, and put my child in her stead." "Falsely, falsely have ye done, O mother," she said, "if this be true, to keep the best man under the sun so many years from his due." "Nay now, my child," said Alice the nurse, "but keep the secret for your life, and all you have will be Lord Ronald's when you are man and wife." "If I'm a beggar born," she said, "I will speak out, for I dare not lie. Pull off the brooch of gold, and fling the diamond necklace by." "Nay now, my child," said Alice the nurse, "but keep the secret all ye can." She said, "Not so, but I will know if there be any faith in man." "Nay now, what faith?" said Alice the nurse. "The man will cleave unto his right." "And he shall have it," the lady replied, "though I should die to-night." "Yet give one kiss to your mother dear. Alas, my child, I sinned for thee." "O mother, mother, mother," she said, "so strange it seems to me." "Yet here's a kiss for my mother dear, if this be so, and lay your hand upon my head, and bless me, mother, ere I go." She clad herself in a russet gown. She was no longer Lady Clare. She went by dale and she went by down, with a single rose in her hair. The lily-white doe Lord Ronald had brought leapt up from where she lay, dropped her head in the maiden's hand, and followed her all the way. Down stepped Lord Ronald from his tower. "O Lady Clare, you shame your worth! Why come you dressed like a village maid, that are the flower of the earth?" "If I come dressed like a village maid, I am but as my fortunes are. I am a beggar born," she said, "and not the Lady Clare." "Play me no tricks," said Lord Ronald, "for I am yours in word and deed." "Play me no tricks," said Lord Ronald, "your riddle is hard to read." Oh, and proudly stood she up, her heart within her did not fail. She looked into Lord Ronald's eyes, and told him all her nurse's tale. He laughed a laugh of merry scorn, he turned and kissed her where she stood. "If you are not the heiress born, and I," said he, "the next in blood? If you are not the heiress born, and I," said he, "the lawful heir, we two will wed to-morrow morn, and you shall still be Lady Clare." Alfred Tennyson. End of Section 19. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 16th, 2006 in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know. Edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 20. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains one poem, The Lord of Burley. Part 2, continued. The Lord of Burley. In her ear he whispers gaily, "If my heart by signs can tell, Maiden, I have watched thee daily, and I think thou lov'st me well." She replies in accents fainter, "There is none I love like thee." He is but a landscape painter, and a village maiden she. He to lips that fondly falter presses his without reproof, leads her to the village altar, and they leave her father's roof. "I can make no marriage present, little can I give my wife. Love will make our cottage pleasant, and I love thee more than life." They by parks and lodges going, see the lordly castles stand, summer woods about them blowing made a murmur in the land. From deep thought himself he rouses, says to her that loves him well, "Let us see these handsome houses where the wealthy nobles dwell." So she goes by him attended, hears him lovingly converse, sees whatever fair and splendid lay betwixt his home and hers. Parks with oak and chestnut shady, parks and ordered gardens great, ancient homes of lord and lady, built for pleasure and for state. All he shows her makes him dearer, evermore she seems to gaze on that cottage growing nearer, where they twain will spend their days. Oh, but she will love him truly, he shall have a cheerful home, she will order all things duly, when beneath his roof they come. Thus her heart rejoices greatly, till a gateway she discerns, with armorial bearings stately, and beneath the gate she turns. Sees a mansion more majestic than all those she saw before, many a gallant gay domestic bows before him at the door. And they speak in gentle murmur when they answer to his call, while he treads with footstep firmer, leading on from hall to hall. And while now she wanders blindly, nor the meaning can divine, proudly turns he round and kindly, "All of this is mine and thine." Here he lives in state and bounty, Lord of Burley, fair and free. Not a lord in all the county is so great a lord as he. All at once the colour flushes her sweet face from brow to chin, as it were with same she blushes, and her spirit changed within. Then her countenance all over pale again as death did prove, but he clasped her like a lover, and he cheered her soul with love. So she strove against her weakness, though at times her spirit sank, shaped her heart with woman's meekness to all duties of her rank. And a gentle consort made he, and her gentle mind was such that she grew a noble lady, and the people loved her much. But a trouble weighed upon her, and perplexed her night and morn, with the burden of an honour unto which she was not born. Faint she grew, and ever fainter, as she murmured, "Oh, that he were once more that landscape painter, which did win my heart from me." So she drooped and drooped before him, fading slowly from his side. 3 fair children first she bore him, then before her time she died. Weeping, weeping late and early, walking up and pacing down, deeply mourned the Lord of Burley, Burley House by Stamford town. And he came to look upon her, and he looked at her and said, "Bring the dress and put it on her that she wore when she was wed." Then her people, softly treading, bore to earth her body, dressed in the dress that she was wed in, that her spirit might have rest. Alfred Tennyson. End of Section 20. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 16th, 2006, in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know. Edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 21. Frissche. This section contains just one poem, Hiawathas Childhood. Hiawatha needs no commendation. Hundreds of thousands of children in our land know snatches of it. It is a children's poem, every line of it. One summer in Boston more than 50,000 people went to take a peep at the poet's house. By the shores of Gitchigumi, by the shining Big Sea water, stood the wigwam of Nokomis, daughter of the moon, Nokomis. Dark behind it rose the forest, rose the black and gloomy pine trees, rose the firs with cones upon them. Bright before it beat the water, beat the clear and sunny water, beat the shining Big Sea water. There the wrinkled old Nokomis nursed the little Hiawatha, rocked him in his linden cradle, bedded soft in moss and rushes, safely bound with reindeer sinews, stilled his fretful wail by saying, "Hush, the naked bear will hear thee," lulled him into slumber, singing, "Ewa-yea, my little owlet! Who is this that lights the wigwam, with his great eyes lights the wigwam? Ewa-yea, my little owlet!" Many things Nokomis taught him of the stars that shine in heaven, showed him Ishkudah, the comet, Ishkudah with fiery tresses, showed the death dance of the spirits, warriors with their plumes and war clubs, flaring far away to northward in the frosty nights of winter, showed the broad white road in heaven, pathway of the ghosts, the shadows, running straight across the heavens, crowded with the ghosts, the shadows. At the door on summer evenings sat the little Hiawatha, heard the whispering of the pine trees, heard the lapping of the water, sounds of music, words of wonder. "Minnie-wawa," said the pine trees. "Mudway-oshka," said the water, saw the firefly, Wah-wah-taysee, flitting through the dusk of evening, with a twinkle of its candle lighting up the brakes and bushes, and he sang the song of children, sang the song Nokomis taught him. "Wah-wah-taysee, little firefly, little flitting white-fire insect, little dancing white-fire creature, light me with your little candle, ere upon my bed I lay me, ere in sleep I close my eyelids." Saw the moon rise from the water, rippling rounding from the water, saw the flecks and shadows on it, whispered, "What is that, Nokomis?" And the good Nokomis answered, "Once a warrior, very angry, seized his grandmother and threw her up into the sky at midnight. Right against the moon he threw her. 'Tis her body that you see there." Saw the rainbow in the heaven, in the eastern sky, the rainbow, whispered, "What is that, Nokomis?" And the good Nokomis answered, "'Tis the heaven of flowers you see there, all the wild flowers of the forest, all the lilies of the prairie. When on earth they fade and perish, blossom in that heaven above us." When he heard the owls at midnight, hooting, laughing in the forest, "What is that?" he cried in terror. "What is that?" he said, "Nokomis?" And the good Nokomis answered, "That is but the owl and owlet, talking in their native language, talking, scolding at each other." Then the little Hiawatha learned of every bird its language, learned their names and all their secrets, how they built their nests in summer, where they hid themselves in winter, talked with them whene'er he met them, called them Hiawatha's chickens. Of all beasts he learned the language, learned their names and all their secrets, how the beavers built their lodges, where the squirrels hid their acorns, how the reindeer ran so swiftly, why the rabbit was so timid, talked with them whene'er he met them, called them Hiawatha's brothers. Henry W. Longfellow. End of section 21. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 19th, 2006 in Oceanside, California. Every Child Should Know. Edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 22. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains the following poems: I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, John Barleycorn, and A Life on the Ocean Wave. Part II continued. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. The daffodil is here out of compliment to a splendid school and a splendid teacher at Poughkeepsie. I found the pupils learning the poem, the teacher having placed a bunch of daffodils in a vase before them. It was a charming lesson. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. William Wordsworth. John Barleycorn. John Barleycorn is a favorite with boys because it pictures a successful struggle. One editor has made a temperance poem of it, mistaking its true intent. The poem is a strong expression of a ploughman's love for a hardy, food-giving grain which has sprung to life through his efforts. There were 3 kings into the East, 3 kings both great and high, and they ha' sworn a solemn oath John Barleycorn should die. They took a plough and ploughed him down, put clods upon his head, and they ha' sworn a solemn oath John Barleycorn was dead. But the cheerful spring came kindly on, and showers began to fall. John Barleycorn got up again, and sore surprised them all. The sultry suns of summer came, and he grew thick and strong, his head well armed wi' pointed spears, that no one should him wrong. The sober autumn entered mild, and he grew wan and pale, his bending joints and drooping head showed he began to fail. His colour sickened more and more, he faded into age, and then his enemies began to show their deadly rage. They took a weapon long and sharp, and cut him by the knee, then tied him fast upon a cart, like a rogue for forgery. They laid him down upon his back, and cudgelled him full sore. They hung him up before the storm, and turned him o'er and o'er. They filled up then a darksome pit with water to the brim, and heaved in poor John Barleycorn to let him sink or swim. They laid him out upon the floor to work him further woe, and still as signs of life appeared they tossed him to and fro. They wasted o'er a scorching flame the marrow of his bones, but a miller used him worst of all, he crushed him 'tween 2 stones. And they have taken his very heart's blood, and drunk it round and round, and still the more and more they drank, their joy did more abound. Robert Burns. A Life on the Ocean Wave. A Life on the Ocean Wave by Epes Sargent, 1813-80, gives the swing and motion of the water of the great ocean. Children remember it almost unconsciously after hearing it read several times. A life on the ocean wave, a home on the rolling deep, where the scattered waters rave, and the winds their revels keep. Like an eagle caged I pine on this dull unchanging shore. Oh, give me the flashing brine, the spray, and the tempest's roar. Once more on the deck I stand of my own swift gliding craft. Set sail, farewell to the land, the gale follows fair abaft. We shoot through the sparkling foam like an ocean bird set free. Like the ocean bird, our home we'll find far out on the sea. The land is no longer in view, the clouds have begun to frown, but with a stout vessel and crew we'll say, let the storm come down, and the song of our hearts shall be, while the winds and the waters rave, a home on the rolling sea, a life on the ocean wave. Épée Sergeant. End of section 22. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 19th, 2006 in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know, edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 23. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains 2 poems, The Death of the Old Year and Abu Ben Adhem. Part 2 continued. The Death of the Old Year. It is customary every New Year's Eve in America to ring bells, fire guns, send up rockets, and in many other ways to show joy and gratitude that the old year has been so kind, and that the new year is so auspicious. The emphasis in Tennyson's poem is laid on gratitude for past benefits so easily forgotten, rather than upon the possible advantages of the unknown and untried future. Full knee-deep lies the winter snow, and the winter winds are wearily sighing. Toll ye the church bell sad and slow, and tread softly and speak low, for the old year lies a-dying. Old year, you must not die, you came to us so readily, you lived with us so steadily. Old year, you shall not die. He lieth still, he doth not move, he will not see the dawn of day. He hath no other life above, he gave me a friend and a true, true love, and the new year will take 'em away. Old year, you must not go, so long as you have been with us. Such joy as you have seen with us, old year, you shall not go. He frothed his bumpers to the brim, a jollier year we shall not see. But though his eyes are waxing dim, and though his foes speak ill of him, he was a friend to me. Old year, you shall not die, we did so laugh and cry with you. I've half a mind to die with you, old year, if you must die. He was full of joke and jest, but all his merry quips are o'er. To see him die across the waste, his son and heir doth ride post-haste, but he'll be dead before. Every one for his own, the night is starry and cold, my friend, and the new year, blithe and bold, my friend, comes up to take his own. How hard he breathes over the snow! I heard just now the crowing cock, the shadows flicker to and fro, the cricket chirps, the light burns low, 'tis nearly 12 o'clock. Shake hands before you die, old year, we'll dearly rue for you. What is it we can do for you? Speak out before you die. His face is growing sharp and thin, alack, our friend is gone. Close up his eyes, tie up his chin, step from the corpse and let him in, that standeth there alone, and waiteth at the door. There's a new foot on the floor, my friend, and a new face at the door, my friend, a new face at the door. Alfred Tennyson. Abu Ben Adhem. Abu Ben Adhem has won its way to the popular heart because the brotherhood of man is the motto of this age. Abu Ben Adhem, may his tribe increase, awoke one night from a deep dream of peace, and saw within the moonlight in his room, making it rich and like a lily in bloom, an angel writing in a book of gold. Exceeding peace had made Ben Adhem bold, and to the presence in the room he said, "What writest thou?" The vision raised its head, and with a look made of all sweet accord, answered, "The names of those who love the Lord." "And is mine one?" said Abu. "Nay, not so," replied the angel. Abu spoke more low, but cheerily still, and said, "I pray thee, then, write me as one that loves his fellow men." The angel wrote and vanished. The next night it came again, with a great wakening light, and showed the names whom love of God had blessed, and lo, Ben Adhem's name led all the rest. Leigh Hunt. End of section 23. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 19th, 2006 in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know, edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 24, read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains just one poem, A Farmyard Song. Part 2 continued. Farmyard Song. A Farmyard Song was popular years ago with Burbank, the great reader. How the boys and girls loved it! The author, J.T. Trowbridge, born 1827, is a boy-hearted man, says John Burroughs. The poem is just as popular as it ever was. Over the hill the farm boy goes, his shadow lengthens along the land, a giant staff in a giant hand. In the poplar tree above the spring the katydid begins to sing, the early dews are falling. Into the stone heap darts the mink, the swallows skim the river's brink, and home to the woodland fly the crows, when over the hill the farm boy goes, cheerily calling, "Co, boss, co, boss, co, co, co." Farther, farther over the hill, faintly calling, calling still, "Co, boss, co, boss, co, co." Into the yard the farmer goes, with grateful heart at the close of day. Harness and chain are hung away, in the wagon shed stand yoke and plough, the straw's in the stack, the hay in the mow. The cooling dews are falling. The friendly sheep his welcome bleat, the pigs come grunting to his feet. The whinnying mare her master knows, when into the yard the farmer goes, his cattle calling, "Co, boss, co, boss, co, co, co." While still the cowboy far away goes seeking those that have gone astray, "Co, boss, co, boss, co, co." Now to her task the milkmaid goes, the cattle come crowding through the gate, lowing, pushing, little and great, about the trough by the farmyard pump. The frolicsome yearlings frisk and jump, while the pleasant dews are falling. The new milch heifer is quick and shy, but the old cow waits with a tranquil eye, and the white stream into the bright pail flows, when to her task the milkmaid goes, soothingly calling, "So, boss, so, boss, so, so, so." The cheerful milkmaid takes her stool, and sits and milks in the twilight cool, saying, "So, so, boss, so, so." To supper at last the farmer goes, the apples are pared, the paper read, the stories are told, then all to bed. Without, the cricket's ceaseless song makes shrill the silence all night long. The heavy dews are falling. The housewife's hand has turned the lock, drowsily ticks the kitchen clock. The household sinks to deep repose, but still in sleep the farm boy goes, singing, calling, "Co, boss, co, boss, co, co, co." And oft the milkmaid in her dreams drums in the pail with the flashing streams, murmuring, "So, boss, so." J.T. Trowbridge. End of section 24. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 19th, 2006, in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know, edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 25. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains two poems, To a Mouse and To a Mountain Daisy. Part 2 continued. To a Mouse on turning up her nest with the plough, November, 1785. To a Mouse and To a Mountain Daisy by Robert Burns, 1759 1796, are the ineffable touches of tenderness that illumine the sturdy ploughman. The contrast between the strong man and the delicate flower or creature at his mercy makes tenderness in man a vital point in character. The lines "To a Mouse" seem by report to have been composed while Burns was actually ploughing. One of the poet's first editors wrote, "John Blaine, who had acted as godesman to Burns, and who lived 60 years afterward, had a distinct recollection of the turning up of the mouse. Like a thoughtless youth as he was, he ran after the creature to kill it, but was checked and recalled by his master, who he observed became thereafter thoughtful and abstracted. Burns, who treated his servants with the familiarity of fellow labourers, soon afterward read the poem to Blaine." Wee, sleekit, cow'rin, timorous beastie, oh, what a panic's in thy breastie! Thou needna start away sae hasty, wi' bickering brattle. I wad be laith to rin and chase thee, wi' murdering prattle. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union, and justifies that ill opinion, which makes thee startle at me, thy poor earth-born companion, and fellow mortal. I doubtna, whiles, but thou may thieve, what then, poor beastie, thou maun live. A daemon icker in a thrave, 's a sma' request. I'll get a blessin' wi' the lave, and never missed. Thy wee bit housie, too, in ruin, it's silly was the winds are strewin', and naething now too big a new ane, o' foggage green, and bleak December's winds ensuin', baith snell and keen. Thou saw the fields laid bare and waste, and weary winter comin' fast, and cosy here beneath the blast thou thought to dwell, till crash the cruel coulter passed out through thy cell. That wee bit heap o' leaves and stibble has cost thee mony a weary nibble. Now thou's turned out, for a' thy trouble, but house or hald, to thole the winter's sleety dribble and cranreuch cauld. But, mousie, thou art no thy lane, in proving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes o' mice and men gang aft agley, and leave us nought but grief and pain for promised joy. Still thou art blest, compared wi' me, the present only toucheth thee. But och, I backward cast my e'e on prospects drear, and forward, though I canna see, I guess and fear. Robert Burns. To a Mountain Daisy, on turning one down with the plough in April, 1786. Wee, modest, crimson-tipped flower, thou's met me in an evil hour, for I maun crush amang the store thy slender stem. To spare thee now is past my power, thou bonny gem. Alas, it's no thy neighbour sweet, the bonny lark, companion meet, bending thee 'mong the dewy wheat, with speckled breast, when upward springing blithe to greet the purpling east. Cauld blew the bitter biting north upon thy early humble birth, yet cheerfully thou glinted forth amid the storm, scarce reared above the parent earth thy tender form. The flaunting flowers our gardens yield, high sheltering woods and was maun shield, but thou beneath the random bield o' clod or stane, adorns the histy stibble field, unseen alane. There in thy scanty mantle clad, thy snowy bosom sunward spread, thou lifts thy unassuming head in humble guise. But now the share uptears thy bed, and low thou lies. Such is the fate of artless maid, sweet floweret of the rural shade, by love's simplicity betrayed, and guileless trust, till she, like thee, all soiled, is laid low in the dust. Such is the fate of simple bard, on life's rough ocean luckless starred, unskilful he to note the card of prudent lore, till billows rage and gales blow hard, and whelm him o'er. Such fate to suffering worth is given, who long with wants and woes has striven, by human pride or cunning driven, to misery's brink, till wrenched of every stay but heaven, he ruined sink. Even thou who mourn'st the daisy's fate, that fate is thine, no distant date. Stern ruin's ploughshare drives elate full on thy bloom, till crushed beneath the furrow's weight shall be thy doom. Robert Burns. End of Section 25. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 19th, 2006, in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know. Edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 26. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains just one poem, Barbara Frissche. Part 2 continued. Barbara Frissche will be beloved of all times because she was an old woman, not necessarily an old lady, worthy of her years. Old age is honorable if it carries a head that has a halo. Up from the meadows rich with corn, clear in the cool September morn, the clustered spires of Frederick stand green-walled by the hills of Maryland. Round about them orchards sweep, apple and peach tree fruited deep, fair as the garden of the Lord to the eyes of the famished rebel horde. On that pleasant morn of the early fall, when Lee marched over the mountain wall, over the mountains winding down, horse and foot, into Frederick town. 40 flags with their silver stars, 40 flags with their crimson bars, flapped in the morning wind. The sun of noon looked down and saw not one. Up rose old Barbara Frissche then, bowed with her 80 years and 10. Bravest of all in Frederick town, she took up the flag the men hauled down. In her attic window the staff she set, to show that one heart was loyal yet. Up the street came the rebel tread, Stonewall Jackson riding ahead. Under his slouched hat left and right he glanced, the old flag met his sight. Halt! The dust-brown ranks stood fast. Fire! Out blazed the rifle blast. It shivered the window, pane and sash, it rent the banner with seam and gash. Quick as it fell from the broken staff, Dame Barbara snatched the silken scarf. She leaned far out on the window-sill and shook it forth with a royal will. "Shoot if you must this old gray head, but spare your country's flag," she said. A shade of sadness, a blush of shame, over the face of the leader came. The nobler nature within him stirred to life at that woman's deed and word. "Who touches a hair of yon gray head dies like a dog. March on!" he said. All day long through Frederick Street sounded the tread of marching feet. All day long that free flag tossed over the heads of the rebel host. Even its torn folds rose and fell on the loyal winds that loved it well, and through the hill gaps sunset light shone over it with a warm good night. Barbara Frische's work is o'er, and the rebel rides on his raids no more. Honor to her, and let a tear fall for her sake on Stonewall's bier. Over Barbara Frische's grave, flag of freedom and union wave. Peace and order and beauty draw round thy symbol of light and law, and ever the stars above look down on thy stars below in Frederick town. John G. Whittier. End of section 26. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 19th, 2006 in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know, edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 27, read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains just one poem, Lochinvar. Part 3, The Days at the Morn. Lochinvar. Lochinvar and Lord Ullin's Daughter, the first by Scott (1771 to 1832), and the second by Campbell (1777 to 1844), are companions in sentiment, and equally popular with boys who love to win anything desirable by heroic effort. Oh, young Lochinvar is come out of the west. Through all the wide border his steed was the best, and save his good broadsword he weapons had none. He rode all unarmed, and he rode all alone. So faithful in love and so dauntless in war, there never was knight like the young Lochinvar. He stayed not for brake, and he stopped not for stone. He swam the Esk River where ford there was none. But ere he alighted at Netherby gate, the bride had consented, the gallant came late. For a laggard in love and a dastard in war was to wed the fair Ellen of brave Lochinvar. So boldly he entered the Netherby hall, among bridesmen and kinsmen and brothers and all. Then spoke the bride's father, his hand on his sword, for the poor craven bridegroom said never a word. "Oh, come ye in peace here, or come ye in war, or to dance at our bridal, young Lord Lochinvar?" "I long wooed your daughter, my suit you denied. Love swells like the Solway, but ebbs like its tide. And now am I come, with this lost love of mine, to lead but one measure, drink 1 cup of wine. There are maidens in Scotland more lovely by far, that would gladly be bride to the young Lochinvar." The bride kissed the goblet, the knight took it up, he quaffed of the wine, and he threw down the cup. She looked down to blush, and she looked up to sigh, with a smile on her lips and a tear in her eye. He took her soft hand ere her mother could bar. "Now tread we a measure," said young Lochinvar. So stately his form, and so lovely her face, That never a hall such a galliard did grace. While her mother did fret, and her father did fume, And the bridegroom stood dangling his bonnet and plume, And the bride maidens whispered, "'Twere better by far To have matched our fair cousin with young Lochinvar." One touch to her hand, and one word in her ear, When they reached the hall door, and the charger stood near, So light to the croup the fair lady he swung, So light to the saddle before her he sprung. "She is won! We are gone! Over bank, bush, and scaur. They'll have fleet steeds that follow," quoth young Lochinvar. There was mounting 'mong Graemes of the Netherby clan, Forsters, Fenwicks, and Musgraves, they rode and they ran. There was racing and chasing on Cannobie Lee, But the lost bride of Netherby ne'er did they see. So daring in love, and so dauntless in war, Have ye e'er heard of gallant like young Lochinvar? Sir Walter Scott. End of Section 27. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 20th, 2006, in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know, edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 28. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains 2 poems, Lord Ullin's Daughter and The Charge of the Light Brigade. Part 3 continued. Lord Ullin's Daughter. A chieftain, to the Highlands bound, Cries, "Boatman, do not tarry, And I'll give thee a silver pound To row us o'er the ferry." "Now, who be ye would cross Lochgyle, This dark and stormy water?" "Oh, I'm the chief of Ulva's isle, And this Lord Ullin's daughter. And fast before her father's men 3 days we've fled together, For should he find us in the glen, My blood would stain the heather. His horsemen hard behind us ride, Should they our steps discover, Then who will cheer my bonny bride, When they have slain her lover?" Out spoke the hardy Highland wight, "I'll go, my chief, I'm ready. It is not for your silver bright, But for your winsome lady. And by my word, the bonny bird In danger shall not tarry, So though the waves are raging white, I'll row you o'er the ferry." By this the storm grew loud apace, The water wraith was shrieking, And in the scowl of heaven each face Grew dark as they were speaking. But still as wilder blew the wind, And as the night grew drearer, Adown the glen rode armed men, Their trampling sounded nearer. "Oh, haste thee, haste!" the lady cries. "Though tempests round us gather, I'll meet the raging of the skies, But not an angry father." The boat has left a stormy land, A stormy sea before her, When, oh, too strong for human hand, The tempest gathered o'er her. And still they rode amid the roar Of waters fast prevailing. Lord Ullin reached that fatal shore, His wrath was changed to wailing. For sore dismayed through storm and shade, His child he did discover. One lovely hand she stretched for aid, And one was round her lover. come back," he cried in grief, "Across this stormy water, And I'll forgive your Highland chief, My daughter, oh, my daughter." 'Twas vain the loud waves lashed the shore, Return or aid preventing. The waters wild went o'er his child, And he was left lamenting. Thomas Campbell. The Charge of the Light Brigade. The charge of the Light Brigade, unlike Casabianca, shows obedience under stern necessity. Obedience is the salvation of any army. John Burroughs says, "I never hear that poem but what it thrills me through and through." Half a league, Half a league onward, all in the valley of death, rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade! Charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade! Was there man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew some one had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered. Stormed at with shot and shell, boldly they rode and well. Into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabres bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabring the gunners there, charging an army while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the sabre stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered. Stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made! All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made! Honor the Light Brigade! Noble 600! Alfred Tennyson. End of Section 28. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 20th, 2006, in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know. Edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 29. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains two poems, The Tournament and The Wind and the Moon. Part 3 continued. The Tournament. There are several of Sidney Lanier's poems that children love to learn. Tampa Robins, The Tournament, Joust 1, Barnacles, The Song of the Chattahoochee, and The First Steamboat Up the Alabama are among them. At our poetry contests, the children have plainly demonstrated that this great poet has reached his hand down to the youngest. The time will doubtless come when it will be a part of education to be acquainted with Lanier, as it is now to be acquainted with Longfellow or Tennyson. Bright shone the lists, blue bent the skies, and the knights still hurried amain to the tournament under the ladies' eyes, where the jousters were heart and brain. Flourished the trumpets, entered Heart, a youth in crimson and gold. Flourished again, Brain stood apart, steel-armoured, dark and cold. Heart's palfrey caracoled gaily round, Heart trullirod merrily. But Brain sat still with never a sound, so cynical calm was he. Heart's helmet crest bore favours 3 from his lady's white hand caught, while Brain wore a plumeless casque, not he of favour gave or sought. The trumpet blew, Heart shot a glance to catch his lady's eye, but Brain gazed straight ahead, his lance to aim more faithfully. They charged, they struck, both fell, both bled, Brain rose again ungloved. Heart, dying, smiled and faintly said, "My love to my beloved." Sidney Lanier. The Wind and the Moon. Little laddie, do you remember learning The Wind and the Moon? You were 8 or 9 years old, and you shut your eyes and puffed out your cheeks when you came to the line, "He blew and he blew." The saucy wind made a great racket, and the calm moon never noticed it. That gave you a great deal of pleasure, didn't it? We did not care much for the noisy, conceited wind. Said the wind to the moon, "I will blow you out." You stare in the air like a ghost in a chair, always looking what I am about. I hate to be watched. I'll blow you out. The wind blew hard, and out went the moon. So deep on a heap of clouds to sleep, down lay the wind and slumbered soon, muttering low, "I've done for that moon." He turned in his bed, She was there again, on high in the sky, with her one ghost eye. The moon shone white and alive and plain. Said the Wind, "I will blow you out again." The Wind blew hard, and the moon grew dim. "With my sledge and my wedge I have knocked off her edge. If only I blow right fierce and grim, the creature will soon be dimmer than dim." He blew, and she thinned to a thread. "One puff more's enough to blow her to snuff. One good puff more where the last was bred, And glimmer, glimmer, glum will go the thread." He blew a great blast, and the thread was gone. In the air nowhere was a moonbeam bare. Far off and harmless the shy stars shone. Sure and certain the moon was gone. The Wind he took to his revels once more. On down in town, like a merry mad clown, he leaped and hallooed with whistle and roar. "What's that? The glimmering thread once more!" He flew in a rage, he danced and blew, but in vain was the pain of his bursting brain, for still the broader the moon scrap grew. The broader he swelled his big cheeks and blew. Slowly she grew till she filled the night, and shone on her throne in the sky alone, a matchless, wonderful, silvery light, radiant and lovely, the Queen of the Night. Said the Wind, "What a marvel of power am I! With my breath, good faith, I blew her to death. First blew her away right out of the sky, Then blew her in. What strength have I?" But the moon, she knew nothing about the affair, for high in the sky, with her one white eye, motionless, miles above the air, she had never heard the great wind blare. George MacDonald. End of section 29. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 20th, 2006, in Oceanside, California. Poems Every Child Should Know. Edited by Mary E. Burt. Section 30. Read for LibriVox.org by Kara Schallenberg. This section contains the following poems: Jesus the Carpenter, Letty's Globe, A Dream, and Heaven is Not Reached at a Single Bound. Part 3 continued. Jesus the Carpenter. Jesus the carpenter, same trade as me, strikes a high note in favor of honest toil. Isn't this Joseph's son? Aye, it is he. Joseph the carpenter, same trade as me. I thought as I'd find it, I knew he was here, but my sight's getting queer. I don't know right where as his shed must ha' stood, but often, as I've been a-planing my wood, I've took off my hat just with thinking of he at the same work as me. He warn't that set up that he couldn't stoop down and work in the country for folks in the town. And I'll warrant he felt a bit pride, like I've done, at a good job begun. The parson he knows that I'll not make too free, but on Sunday I feels as pleased as can be, when I wears my clean smock and sits in a pew, and has taught a few. I think of as how not the parson hissen, as is teacher and father and shepherd o' men, not he knows as much of the Lord in that shed, where he earned his own bread. And when I goes home to my missus, says she, "Are ye wanting your key?" For she knows my queer ways and my love for the shed. We've been 40 years wed. So I comes right away by mysen with the book, and I turns the old pages and has a good look for the text as I've found, as tell me as he were the same trade as me. Why don't I mark it? Ah, many say so, but I think I'd as lief, with your leaves, let it go. It do seem that nice when I fall on it sudden, unexpected, you know. Catherine C. Liddell. Letty's Globe. Letty's Globe gives us the picture of a little golden-haired girl who covers all Europe with her dainty hands and tresses, while giving a kiss to England, her own dear native land. When Letty had scarce passed her 3rd glad year, and her young artless words began to flow, one day we gave the child a coloured sphere of the wide earth, that she might mark and know by tint and outline all its sea and land. She patted all the world, Old empires peeped between her baby fingers, her soft hand was welcome at all frontiers. How she leaped and laughed and prattled in her world-wide bliss! But when we turned her sweet unlearned eye on our own isle, she raised a joyous cry: "Oh yes, I see it! Letty's home is there!" And while she hid all England with a kiss, bright over Europe fell her golden hair. Charles Tennyson Turner. A Dream. Once a dream did wave a shade O'er my angel-guarded bed, That an emmet lost its way When on grass methought I lay. Troubled, wildered, and forlorn, Dark, benighted, travel-worn, Over many a tangled spray, All heart broke, I heard her say: "Oh, my children, do they cry? Do they hear their father sigh? Now they look abroad to see, Now return and weep for me." Pitying, I dropped a tear, But I saw a glow-worm near, Who replied, "What wailing wight Calls the watchman of the night?" "I am set to light the ground, While the beetle goes his round. Follow now the beetle's hum. Little wanderer, hie thee home." William Blake. Heaven is not reached at a single bound. A fragment. "We build the ladder by which we climb" is a line worthy of any poet. J.G. Holland (1819 1881) has immortalized himself in this line at least: "Heaven is not reached at a single bound, But we build the ladder by which we rise From the lowly earth to the vaulted skies, And we mount to its summit round by round. I count this thing to be grandly true, That a noble deed is a step toward God, Lifting the soul from the common clod To a purer air and a broader view." J.G. Holland. End of Section 30. Read by Kara Schallenberg on October 20th, 2006, in Oceanside, California.